Youngpreneurs Podcast, episode number 141 with your host, Victor Penny. What's up, world? Another day, another podcast. And today you are in the right place because we're going to talk about how you can systemize things. And this is something that I really love because I've found that it has taken what I do to another level, and having systems in place, so that as in the future I grow and scale, I've got things that can just be handed off to somebody, then be given the training or the systems, and you can keep doing. You can hand off the things that you think only you can do, and then you quickly realize that other people can do it as well. And it's really powerful because it allows you to do more of the important things in your business for it to grow. And so I've got Chandler Walker from Chan's Logic, and he is an absolute gun. He's created one highly successful business and is creating another two on this, not even on the side. He's creating another two through the effective systems that he does create in his business. So I'm not going to leave you too long before we jump into it. But if you do enjoy the show, jump over to iTunes, leave us a comment, a rating, a review. As I love to hear what you think about the show. Jump over to passiveincomeyoung.com where you'll find all the show notes, links, and we've got some awesome video training there for you where you can learn how to start your first business for $0 online, and a lot of other cool resources. And you can check out our whole back catalogue of 140 other episodes just like this. So everyone grab a pen and paper because there are some amazing takeaways here. Sit back, relax, and keep living life on your own terms.
You're listening to the Youngpreneurs Podcast, the number one resource online for under 35-year-olds, where we chat twice a week to the most inspiring entrepreneurs in the world. We have it all. If you're looking for inspiration, guidance, or actionable tips to help you transition from that job into a business, or if you're ready to take that business to a whole new level, then this is the place to be. Get ready to live life on your own terms. What's happening, Youngpreneurs? Welcome to another episode of the Youngpreneurs Podcast. I'm your host, Victor Penny, and like usual, I just want to thank you for jumping on and spending some time with us, because you've got your chance to choose to spend it with whoever you like, and you are the sum of who you spend it with. And today you're not going to regret it, because I have got Chandler from Chandler Walker, and he is come here all the way from the USA to jump on and share his message on the businesses that he runs, and how he has gone from where he is to where he was to where he is now. And just like all of you, there's going to be plenty of learning. So welcome to the show, Chandler.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be on here and excited to talk about my journey and hopefully help some other people along the way.
It's absolutely my pleasure. I love to start the show with one particular question, and it's kind of gives everyone a bit of an idea of does your past dictate your future? But was entrepreneurship and business, was it always on the radar from a young age, or was there like the influences growing up? Like, did you have the parents who were the business people? Like, what did it look like for you growing up?
Yeah, so growing up, I had my father owned his own business. He was a contractor who installed siding and windows and a lot of home-based stuff like that. And probably when I was about 7 or 8 years old, I always had to travel to job sites with him, and I got to listen to him sell to customers and talk to the customers. And I just really got to be exposed to the whole process of the entrepreneur and everything they have to do as I was growing up. And then my dad, when I was probably 15, 16, forced me to work with him every summer because he didn't want me to jump in the entrepreneur lifestyle. And obviously it didn't help because I did it anyway.
It's brilliant. And so when he did that, were you like, oh my God, this sucks, but then you went and jumped into the entrepreneurial lifestyle anyway when you were working with him? Because I know, a lot of the time where our holiday jobs when we were at high school, I was out in the orchard. I was like, oh my God, I just want to be at the beach hanging out with my friends, or whatever the cool thing to do right then and there was, or was a spark ignited like when you were 16?
I remember being that young and especially 15, 16, when you kind of just want to play and have fun. We'd get up at 5 a.m. and we'd have to get however long it took us to get to the job site. Sometimes we'd come home at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And I remember telling him, hey, Dad, I really think we should get paid for every hour we do this. And I didn't understand at that point. And I really thought, like, yeah, this kind of sucks. I don't really want to do this. And so it didn't necessarily spark my entrepreneurial journey. It probably almost pushed it away, but then somehow it came back.
And so when school finished, what were your next steps? Like, what did it look like? Was it, off to do university or straight into the workforce, or what?
Yeah, so after I graduated high school, it went more into kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. So I went to university. I studied biology and biochemistry, and didn't study any kind of business, didn't really learn anything in business school or go to business school at that point. And the goal was to get into some sort of health and fitness field, the other thing on my radar was going into medical school.
Yep. So where in your chain, and how did Chan's Logic come along?
Yeah, so Chan's Logic was a project I came up with about maybe a year or so ago. Maybe after, because I opened my first business when I was 24, and about 6 years into that, I realized that the processes and the systems that we developed were pretty useful. And I was getting a lot of questions from other business owners on how to implement those processes and how they can be profitable and how they can build their brand and why their brand is important. And so I just decided one day, like, why don't I take all these questions I'm sending back and forth and put them into a blog format, videos, and make a podcast and focus on just answering these things to help people out. And that's how the Chan's Logic podcast came out.
So with the fitness business that you first started, how did you differentiate from the crowd?
So what we did in our first business, we opened up a small fitness-based business. It was kind of a personal training plus a group membership atmosphere. And so what we did was we looked at the current environment of the fitness industry, where everything is kind of discounted and based off of like low-level introductory programs into fitness. And so we said, how can we take this and introduce this as something that we can maybe get involved more with the medical community and call it like a fitness practice where we fix problems versus just let people bebop around. And so what we did was we built out a highly structured fundamentals program where they work 15 to 18 sessions, and we fix problems, go back and forth with doctors and physicians, and then we move them into a group format where they're still paired with what we call a coach for life who manages their health and wellness long term. And so it took us from just a fitness gym into this high level training environment where we could work with people of all shapes and sizes, people who have problems, and people think of us as like a legitimate piece of their life versus something they're just doing for fun.
And so what was your biggest challenge in getting that off the ground? Was it trying to get the doctors and things on board, or the other health professionals on board? Just I'd love to hear what your biggest challenges there were.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenges in establishing that were establishing us as the experts who should be working with these healthcare providers and who people think of as the experts. And so the way we kind of worked to establish that was we focused on driving our brand awareness to the public in kind of large scale. So we focused on educating the public on kind of how they could fix problems, how those problems can be alleviated. Then we focused on inspiring the public. So this is how you take action. And then we put a little bit of emphasis into making them laugh. So we had this like all-encompassing brand awareness strategy that really built us up into something highly unique.
And from a growth point of view, what did growth look like year on year for you? Was it, did you start with a bang, or was it the doubt after a period of time? Like, is this really going to kick off, or was it really just how can I keep getting this bigger and bigger?
Yeah, so our first year was probably our biggest learning year. It was we really understood and started to realize that we had to create systems and we had to learn how to replicate ourselves, and we had to turn it into a sellable asset for when we're ready to retire, for when we want to move on to another business. And so I'd say the first year we were able to get enough clients and members and people into the facility to pay all of our bills and pay ourselves without having to finance any debt. And so our growth that year was fairly large. And the second year we had another big growth spurt. And then the third year it continued to grow. And so now we're at a point where our brand is relatively well known and we're moving into more of a mature environment. And the growth is continuing, not as high as the first year, but it's still at a level to where we're happy and we know it's going to be sustainable year over year.
Cool. And where do you see the fitness side of the business in the next few years?
Yeah, so where that's at, the facility's sustainable, and now we have a level of coaches who are able to manage and structure the gym as general managers. And so what we do and how we organize it is they can kind of buy into the gym like you would in engineering or a law firm. So they can buy in at a partner level, and then it allows us to step back and have the funding that they buy in with to use for retirement or to finance another business that we want to start. And so that's how we've kind of structured the gym. So within 5 years, it'll be our top coaches managing and structuring the whole thing in a partner level role. And we're able to manage what we started in the next field, which is our consulting agency and our brand growth agency.
Cool. So it's like you're getting them to have that buy-in, once they've proved themselves, I guess, as effective staff members who can follow the systems, and then they've got some skin in the game. So, like you say, you're not getting paid to travel to and from work like when you were with your dad back when you were 16, and you're going, why am I not doing this? And then once you kind of understand it from the business side of things, and you get these guys to buy in, they're going to be more effective staff who are obviously now owners.
Yeah, exactly. And I find as an entrepreneur, when you bring on your team, especially the beginnings of building your team, you have to incentivize them and make them feel like they have a piece of ownership in the gym, where there's potential for them or in the business, or there's potential for them to have ownership in the business. And if they feel that way, they're going to work as hard as they can, and they're going to get out there and crush it as hard as you can, just to make that grow. So that way they know that when they can build into that sellable asset, that it's going to be something that pays off for them.
So for some people out there listening who might be, say, still at university or they're early into their game and they haven't really come across any companies or businesses that have got effective systems, why are systems so important to have a scalable business?
So the reason you have to have systems, and the reason the only way you can scale is having effective systems in your business, I think, is because without systems, you can't scale beyond you. And in order to build this thing and have this thing grow, you need this thing to operate without you being present or without you being a worker bee. And so as you build it out and as you structure these systems and processes and strategies, if you can replicate that to have your team do, it allows you to actually grow the brand and focus on the vision and growing the actual business itself versus being stuck inside the business and never actually growing.
And I mean, I think one of the things, what do they call it? They call it the yellow school bus test or something like that. Yeah. Can you get hit by a school bus, and does the business keep ticking along? Without you. And unfortunately, with a place I did work a few years ago, a physiotherapy practice, my boss did actually get hit by another car and passed away, and he'd actually built up like amazing systems to the point that he was kind of going to step away to scale, and the business just ticked along while everyone was in kind of the trauma mode of someone close to you passing away, and this was 30 or 40 staff. It just kept ticking along and rolling over day after day for the next months until everyone's like, all right, we need to pull finger again, which to me, it was the epitome of having effective scaling and systems put in, that everyone knew their role, and even if you pull somebody out of it, somebody else can slide into it
to get those things started.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's so important to write everything down, have everything developed, have roles and responsibilities, and all of that stuff established, because as the owner, as the entrepreneur, you have to be able to look at the vision. And I feel like if you're working inside the business all the time, you're not going to be able to see the high level growth and the high level strategies that you need to develop to make this work.
Yeah, I think it makes you a manager, like a manager if you're working inside the business versus a business owner. When you're working on the business, I mean, sometimes you have to wear both of those hats, but yeah, particularly when you're growing. But if you were to give a couple of tips on somebody out there who's just started their business, and this thing's like that they're going to themselves, oh wow, I really do need these systems. Where would you start? Like, where's the best place for them to get started if they've got nothing really in place from a systems point of view?
I think the best way to start is if you have an idea for a business is, number one, I always tell people building a brand is everything. Even if you don't have a business yet, if you can build some sort of brand that people are following and people care about, when you do launch that business, it's going to launch a lot more effectively than it would as if you didn't have a brand established. Then I think number two, you need to, in your business plan, you need to write out and outline what the team looks like. What do you need to make this operational? What do you need to make this work? And what do you need to make this happen? And then each one of those things you make a job description out of, and you write roles and responsibilities, and then you outline what the processes are for those people. Once you have that established, you can bring those people in, and now you have your team, your systems are set up, and your strategies are good to go. And I think on top of that, if that's not organized, it's going to be you, the owner, who has to come in and compensate for things that people aren't doing because they don't know that they're supposed to do it.
Mm. Yeah, I think I mean, having that vision on where people are and what they're meant to do is huge. From just delving in, obviously you've had, I mean, two fairly different businesses, but they've both almost been in the consulting side of things, in the health and wellness consulting side of things, and now the systems. What have your main user acquisition techniques been? So I love delving into this because everyone's obviously in different businesses, but what have your kind of ways that you've got customers into these two different businesses been?
Yeah, so when I look at how I want to acquire customers and what the best avenue to capture customers is, I need to understand where my money is going to be best spent, where people actually are paying attention, where they actually care about what you're doing. And so what I found the best strategies for both the fitness business and the consulting side of things has been being on producing content all the time. I think if you can make the commitment to producing a good piece at least once a day on the network where your people are at, you don't have to produce content on everything, but I think you need to understand where your demographic is and where they're kind of hanging out. And then you produce content to that platform. And I always say that it needs to follow in kind of three strategies. You have to educate people because they need to know more about your product and more about what you do and more about the people behind it. You need to inspire them. So people love it when they're motivated or when they're inspired by something a business puts out. And then you need to make them laugh because we need to establish kind of a humanistic quality behind your business. People really want to buy something from a company or a business that they feel connected to. And I think if we focus on too much perfection, we lose that humanistic connection and the aspect of where we can really drive the customer to us. And so my biggest thing is put out quality pieces of content at least once a day to your intended demographic in the probably social media platform where they're at, or blog, or whatever your highest level piece is.
Yeah, I love that. I love that point you made on kind of the anti-perfection, like to show people that you're real. Some people try and, I guess, represent their brand or their business in what they think is, even though they might be a one-man band or a two-man band, and they try and represent it as this huge scale company because they think that people only want to work with huge scale companies, and whether they even portray that correctly when they are trying to do it. But often people like dealing with a person. They like knowing your personality, and they like delving into things through that.
and then they turn up and they go, hey, oh yeah, I saw you on social media, I saw you down and your kids were playing up, I can so relate to that, or whatever it may be. So that anti-perfection. I know someone who's rolled out a healthy eating program for parents, providing healthy meals for their kids, and half of her videos are just shot at home. Her kids are jumping all over her trying to get in the videos and things like that, and that personalized approach where everyone goes, she's sitting in the car and the kids are playing up after they've been to the supermarket or whatever it may be, and people go, oh, I can so relate to that. That's me. She's not perfect. She's had the same struggles as what I am, and I think it allows people just to get out there. But further to that is, if you get that anti-perfection mindset into getting things out, like, you can still put out quality things, but it's not going to stop you from putting out anything at all. Too many, I'm sure you see it as well in your consulting side of things, that too many people wait for things to try and be perfect before they get anything out there. Whereas, the only way you're going to learn is by getting things out there and improving on the go.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Like the mom example. So when you see mom with the kids jumping around and they're doing a video together, the mom watching that video says, man, they laugh. They want to relate to that. Now they want to share it because they want to tag the other moms in who can relate to it. And now they want to work with that person because now you've established a connection.
Yeah. So I just want to wind up with a few questions more about you, because it's always great getting a bit of insight in there. With your normal day, is there a normal day for you, and B, what does it look like?
Yeah, my normal day can range from normal to highly chaotic, but generally it starts off, we get up in the morning, there's usually 2, 3, 4 hours of meetings depending on what I'm doing. Then it'll go into going in, checking on how the gym is doing, talking to the staff, kind of making sure that's okay. We'll jump into more meetings. We'll go into an hour or so of content production. And then we wind up the day. Usually it can be anywhere from, sometimes we'll stop at 8 p.m. Sometimes we're done at 2 a.m. But it's all about just, we start when we need to and we stop when we're done. So your day might be 19 hours one day. It might be 4 hours the next day. And it's all just based on how much you scale. And so now we've scaled to 3 different businesses, which requires us to be in 3 different aspects and keeps our days exciting.
And I guess it regularly tests your systems every day to see, are you on top of all these 3 different things? And I mean, me personally, from the different ventures that I've been in, I've found that the more systems, automations, and processes that I've got in place, they're actually easier, and the more you get to work on, rather than doing it here and there. And I mean, I just love this kind of insight into systems. From books or resources, what's your number one and two, couple of books or resources that you'd recommend to other young entrepreneurs out there looking to get started?
Yeah, I'm really big on books that are not necessarily business or marketing related at all. So there's one book I just read, it was called Riveted, The Science of Why People Laugh, Smile, Cry, and Do All Those Things. And the reason I like that is because reading and understanding the human evolution and the human psyche and the way people react and respond to stimuli is a direct correlation to what they're going to do when you market to them or when you try to put your brand in front of them. So the biggest idea is you can learn anything you want in business school, but when you get into the practical aspects of things, it's going to be a lot different. And so if you can understand what people are going to do it before they even do it, you're going to ultimately win and be able to drive people into your business all the time, because you can create a long-term plan of action around building the relationship with people because you know what they're going to do. And so I think Riveted's a really good book, and any other kind of book that understands and talks about the human psyche and the way they react and respond. So delve into that psychology.
So it comes down to that IQ versus EQ a lot of the time. Do you understand people? And there's probably no better example floating around at the moment about understanding the psyche from a marketing standpoint than Gary Vaynerchuk, in the sense that he's sitting there going, I'm doing these videos every day and putting out all this content for people who aren't my customers right now. Like, yeah, his demographic is kind of the younger kick-ass marketer who wants to work 25 hours a day and and create an empire. But he's like, one day you guys are going to be the CEOs of your companies or large companies or whatever it may be, and you're going to come to me because you know that I've got it. And he's like, I'm playing the long game because we've grown our business elsewhere, but I know that in 5-10 years time you guys are going to need somebody, and it's going to be me, and I'm not going to have to put in the work to come and see you at a meeting. You're just going to come and sign up. And it's like, but I follow him in the sense that I think he understands and talks through a lot of that psyche of the market as well in a really good way.
Yeah, exactly. And I love it how he talks about the long-term game too. I talk with a lot of people who want like action right now, and they want things. How can this happen tomorrow, or how can this happen in 30 days? And you have to really take a step back and say, hey, we need to look at this at a 12, 24 month, 36 month strategy and organize from there. If you want it to happen tomorrow, it's going to fail in a year. But if you wait for a year, 2 years, you're going to crush it.
Yeah. And I think, it's so imperative that people do that if you're out there listening. So final question, 2 years time, where are you and what are you doing?
So 2 years time, I think at that point, my coaches will have bought into the gym enough to where I don't have to focus on it as much, and we can move a lot more growth into our branding agency that we've built. And so we'll have our system set up in that agency that's still getting off the ground. We'll have enough ChanLogic podcasts and information out there to help a ton of people. And we'll really be doing what we love and truly living the dream. And I think that's the goal for all of this. It's build your businesses up enough to the point to where you have revenue and growth from several different directions, and you're able to do what you want to do. And people can follow that journey through your blog and the content and all that stuff you put out.
Awesome. Well, finally, I just want to thank you and welcome you to the Youngpreneurs family. It's been absolutely awesome hearing your story and the actionable tips. If people want to get in touch with you, find out more, where should they go? What should they do?
Yeah, so if you want to get in touch with me, there's a couple avenues. You can go to chanlogic.com is my blog. So you can go on there and listen to my podcast, watch my videos, and read. You can email me at chandler@stoneagefuel.com. I like to keep my email as my original business because there's a lot of pride in the first thing you build. And then you can also go to facebook.com/translogic, and that's where I put most of my main content.
Oh, awesome. So we'll link all of that at passiveincomeyoung.com. It's been an absolute pleasure, man, and I look forward to following your journey and keeping in touch.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me on. I had a lot of fun on this, and let's stay in touch and work together as we move forward.
Thanks for listening to the Youngpreneurs podcast. This was proudly brought to you by the Podcast Institute, the #1 training resource to take your business from chasing leads to leads chasing you, and from an absolute amateur to a full-blown authority. If you're looking to take your business to the next level, then a podcast is the obvious answer. You can get national and global exposure in a very fast time, and it's just exactly what I've done with this podcast. So if you want to find out more, get a checklist on how you can get started for under $60, and to find out more through a small training video that I've prepared for you all, then please check out passiveincomeyoung.com/podcast training.